We did a Rick Steves Heart of France tour, and as in all my videos, I pre-apologize for all the mispronunciations of now the French places. Amboise, France. We had a really great view from our hotel room, the Bellevue, of the street and the chateau. This is a great little town, one of the most fun places we stopped at. There is a ton of shopping here for those who like that. Myself, I liked to walk down the off-street areas while all the others went shopping. Of course, then I also got to stop at all the bakeries, and I love French pastries. The half-timber buildings date to the Middle Ages. Amboise was both a Gallo-Roman city and a castle. The area has a long and interesting history. Clovis and the Visigoths signed a peace treaty here. Joan of Arc passed through in 1429 on her way to Orleans. And the chateau at Amboise was the home to Mary Stuart, Queen of Scots, for much of her early life. She probably should have stayed here. She might have lived a bit longer. But then she might not have become so famous. Along the walk to Leonardo Da Vinci's last residence on the Rue Victor Hugo are some troglodytes, and those are cave dwellings which were inhabited until the start of the 20th century. You can see living quarters in the cliffs, full-blown apartments just carved right into the rock face. Amboise is an extremely easy place to get around. Underneath the chateau, but with outside access, there's a small winery. Outside the chateau area is the village on the other side of the river, where you get a great view of the Chateau d'Amboise. While others were shopping, I was walking along the river checking out all the little fishing boats. There are stairs walking from the street level down to the boating and water areas. There is also a measuring area where people can keep track of the height of the river, and I'm sure it's there for a reason. Amboise is the last residence of Leonardo da Vinci. In 1516, King Francis I of France invited Leonardo to Amboise and provided him with the Clos Luca, if I'm saying that correctly. It's a really nice place with a great yard, and I'm sure he lived pretty good here. At that time, though, the place was called Chateau de Cloyes. He stayed here rent-free and was free to work. Leonardo arrived with 3 of his paintings, the Mona Lisa, Santa Anne, and Saint Jean-Baptiste. Of course, they are not here now. Leonardo lived at this little chateau for the last 3 years of his life. He died here on May of 1519, and I highly doubt he did his own cooking and cleaning. According to legend, Da Vinci died in the arms of King Francis, and you can take that any way you want. There are displays of his inventions here, and these are reproductions because most of them were actually in Italy. And there's a whole section of this chateau that has little miniatures of these inventions. Back in the Old Town area is the chateau. You walk up this pathway, and I mean up, and you come up to this huge complex of buildings, chapels, and the burial site of Leonardo. It's like a castle in the sky. I can't imagine the number of people it took to maintain all this. From the windows and the ramparts, you get a masterful view of the area below. Sort of a little reminder to the people below who was boss. He could pretty much see everything going on. No one was going to sneak up on this guy. The chateau sits nearly 40 meters high, and it was a stronghold long before it was a royal residence. Charles VIII ordered successive constructions of the site as well as the chapel. There were 3 planned cavalry towers. 2 were built, enabling horses and carriages to go back and forth between the town and the chateau terraces. Even a Medici daughter ruled from here for a while. During the French Revolution in 1793, the authorities confiscated the chateau and its contents in order to turn it into a detention center and a barracks for veterans from the campaigns led by the revolutionary armies. During this dismantling, much of the contents of the chateau disappeared. Paneling, fireplaces, statues, paintings, ironwork, woodwork. Everything we see in here is mostly gathered up after the fact. Napoleon Bonaparte thanked a senator for his help in seizing power by awarding the chateau to him. And then the senator tore down many of the buildings that were up here. For a while, the chateau even became a detention center for, and I quote the research, prisoners of note. In the 1470s, King Louis XI lived in this chateau. He went to church regularly, but was worried about becoming ill from one of the epidemics sweeping the country. He therefore had the St. Florentine church built in town so that he could go to a separate church than the locals. The insides of the chateau are pretty opulent. It's hard to explain, but when you go inside these chateaus and villas, and what they're called in Italy and the palaces, you can sometimes see the difference in the styles and attitudes of French, German, Italian, Spanish. They all seem to have their own flair. You may notice there are no people in these pictures. That's because I was the only one up here at this time. How unusual is that? Actually, because I was by myself and no one was rushing me around on a tour, I lost track of the time. And when I finally decided to go down to leave, they were actually getting ready to lock the gate. They forgot I was up here. This is a totally enclosed place. Everything is up here that you could want. Open grounds, multiple living spaces, chapels. You could be a hermit up here. If I had got locked in, I'm not sure how scary these things would be. So goodbye to the chateau and to Amboise.